Hey, wonderhussie here, still camping up in the beautiful eastern Sierra Nevada mountains in my vintage travel trailer. And again, apologies if there's a lot of white noise in the background. That's because I'm camping right next to this beautiful, crystal clear mountain stream. Anyway, because I've been camping up here for a while and I just shot a vlog kind of in and around my trailer, I thought this might be a good time to do sort of an overview of my vintage travel trailer, which my friend Randy restored for me back in 2016. That's right, my friend Randy, who you might remember from some of my videos, he came up to the Death Valley compound and helped my sister and I with a whole bunch of projects. We kind of met through the Burning Man community. Randy goes to Burning Man, or he used to go to Burning Man. And at the time I was going to Burning Man too, but I didn't have a real trailer. Back then I just had a pop-up camper, you know, one of those ones where you crank the handle and the little jacking struts go up and lift the roof, and then you pop the beds out on each side. And those are great, you know, it only weighed, I think, 800 pounds. It towed very easily. But when you're sitting, or I should say hunkered, in your trailer during a windstorm at Burning Man, and there's probably 30 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour gusts buffeting the sides, and you're huddled in there going, oh gosh, these jacking struts are going to get hopelessly bent and I'll never be able to crank this thing back down, and how am I ever going to tow it home? Maybe I should buy a real hard-sided trailer. And I didn't really have the budget for a fancy RV, so I thought maybe something more along the lines of what I ended up getting. Now, at the time that I had this pop-up camper, I was driving an old Ford Ranger pickup truck, which was a great little truck. I had lots of fun adventures in it, but it had 170,000 miles on the odometer. And so Randy and his cousin Scott, who's actually how I met Randy, through Scott, been a friend a long time, well, they both told me, you can't buy anything too heavy. You can't tow anything too heavy with a truck that's got 170,000 miles on the transmission. You gotta find something very lightweight. Well, I'd had my eye on those, you know, those fiberglass trailers they make. Scamp is one brand. Because they're made out of fiberglass, they don't weigh much, but they were kind of pricey. At the time, I want to say, gosh, I think they started at like $14,000, and that was without a bathroom or anything, so it was out of my price range. But Randy, being the craftsy guy that he is, and he just loves building things and working on things and fixing things, and he's very generous with his time, he offered to find and restore an old travel trailer for me. I think he maybe had already seen this one. This was parked out in the desert, kind of near Searchlight, Nevada, if you know where that is. But it was a complete mess. Every drawer, every cabinet was packed full of sticks and twigs and desert detritus from all these little critters that had moved into it. It was a huge project. But Randy's the kind of guy who likes a huge project, and so he fixed this thing up for me. And apologies for the fact that I have this big shade structure set up in front of it. You can't quite see the profile of the trailer itself, but you get the idea. It's kind of what they call a canned ham style trailer. Okay, because it's sort of shaped like a canned ham. It's different from an Airstream, and it's different from anything you'd be able to buy today. I feel like there wasn't even really any paperwork in it. We figured out that it was probably built or made in around 1963. I think it was called I don't even know. Whatever the case, it's not a Scamp, it's not an Airstream, it's nothing fancy. It's just some weird no-name trailer from 1963. And like I said, Randy fixed it up for me in 2016. So I've had this thing for about 7 years. I've taken it to Burning Man, I think 5 times. And I've gone camping in it, a few other places, including up here in the beautiful eastern Sierra Nevada mountains by this awesome creek. But really, other than Burning Man, I really don't take this thing very many places because I only get like 9 miles to the gallon when I'm towing it. It's cumbersome to tow. I can sleep just as comfortably, well, almost as comfortably, in the back of my Toyota 4Runner. So usually when I go camping, I'd rather just go in my 4Runner and not drag this trailer around. And every year that I drag it up to Burning Man, I tell myself, this is the last year I'm lugging this thing up here. Because as you can imagine, in the course of 7 years and 5 burning men, this poor thing has suffered a bit of damage. And it was never what you would call luxurious to begin with. And so now I'm sitting here after having cleaned it out and taken stock of all of its deficiencies and weighed those against the pluses of having a cute little vintage travel trailer. Well, I found myself in the position of really questioning, should I put some money into fixing this thing up? Or would I be better off just putting the money into something newer? Okay, I don't want an RV, but you know, you can get a lightweight travel trailer. Well, brand new, a scamp with a toilet and a shower is going to run you probably 22 to 25 grand, according to my research. But if I bought something that was just a few years old, you know, maybe even 5, 10, even 20 years old, I could probably get something that had air conditioning, a toilet, a sink, a functioning stove, all these things that this little trailer doesn't have. And so the point of this video is for you to help me decide, is this vintage travel trailer worth rehabbing, or would I be better off just putting my money into something newer? Okay, let's start by taking a look at the exterior. Okay, this trailer is about 13 feet long, I think. That's the interior space. There's some body damage. Whoopsie. Unfortunately, I damaged the aluminum trim. It's not structural damage, it's just cosmetic. But I still felt really bad when I did it. Thankfully, all the tail lights are functioning. Structurally, the undercarriage and everything, as far as I know, everything is pretty intact. These leaf springs are doing okay. Nothing wrong with the axles. Scott and Randy did just come out a few months ago and repack my wheel bearings, so they're good. I don't think there's anything really wrong structurally, but there are a couple of, inconvenient aspects to this thing. One being, since there's not a real sink, I have to put a basin underneath the sink to catch all the gray water so that I don't just dump it into the ground and pollute it. And that's just gray water, not black water, don't worry. That's just for me brushing my teeth and pouring stuff down the sink. And then this hose here is coming down from the ice box. This trailer is so old, it doesn't even have a refrigerator, it has an ice box. So I guess you're supposed to put a block of ice in it, and then this just drains out the melted ice. But another kind of inconvenience with this trailer is the fact that it doesn't have electronic leveling jacks. Okay, you know how these new trailers are all fancy and you just push a button and these things come down and they level out. These ones, you got to go down there and put them in by hand and then, tighten them by turning that thing to lift or lower the trailer and get it relatively level, which I parked it right here. And I put the, oh gosh, I don't even know if you can see. I put the, whatever you call this thing. It's the thing, I don't know, the hitch. Unfortunately, the wheel busted off of it, so I just put it on some blocks and cranked it up. And then with the help of those leveling jacks, I got it perfectly level so that if you put a marble in the middle of the floor, it won't roll any which way at all. You can also see over here that the hitch is in fine shape. Propane tank is kind of dead weight because the stove inside is the only thing that's powered by this propane tank, and it doesn't work. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't work. It works-ish, but it always smells like there's a gas leak. And Randy, who can fix anything on this planet, and that's no exaggeration, this guy knows how to fix anything. He looked at this propane line every which way till Sunday, and he couldn't figure out where the leak was coming out of. So what happens is, if I turn the propane on here, the stove inside, and I'll show you in a minute, the stove, if you wait about, I don't know, a minute, and then you turn the knob on the stove, and then you get out a lighter, the whole thing almost explodes, and you can cook on it, just not very safely. But then you'd have to come back out here and turn it off at the source every time. If you just turn the knob off inside, it constantly smells like there's a propane leak. You can see the doors and many of the windows, I guess I should address that too before I go inside, were the original louvered glass. Okay, you know how these old-timey trailers had these cool glass louvers, which is really funky and vintage and looks awesome, and has those little handle inside that you crank open and it vents open. Well, unfortunately, it's not very convenient for Burning Man or living in the desert because every little crack gets dust in it. But, Randy was trying to preserve the vintage character of this trailer by keeping as many of the original windows as he could. So there's one on this side and one on the other side, and then the back one. But then this window here, and then this window over here on this side, I guess they were just too busted, like too many panes of glass were broken. So Randy just ordered these little, I guess these are meant for a bathroom, like house windows, and put those in, one on each side. And to be honest, yeah, I know it looks kind of funky and it messes up the vintage charm of the trailer. But I actually like these windows better than the louver ones. The louver ones I had to tape shut. You can't even open them. I think I even glued them shut because I was trying to keep sand from getting in them back home in Death Valley. So this window and the other Home Depot window are the only ones that actually open. So I'm okay with it, with them not looking quaint because they work. But the door, well, I guess there was no option for replacing the door. I mean, I suppose, yeah, you could have taken all those panes out and just put one big piece of glass. And, well, that's something I could consider doing. Because you can see some of these panes broke back in the day before I bought this. And whoever had it before me replaced those panes with, like, old junk glass. This has this weird pattern on it and it had a hole in it that I had to plug up. So it's not even all matching glass anyway. So I suppose that's one expense I would have to factor in right off the boat. If I decide to really rehab this trailer, I'm gonna need to probably replace this with one big piece of glass. I think I would want glass to let extra light in. I wouldn't want to just put a piece of metal or plywood or something over it. Even if I don't need it to look like totally vintage and charming, I still want it to look nice. And another thing I'd need to fix right off the bat is the lock. The lock is broken, so that if I lock the trailer from the outside, it won't open again and I won't be able to get in. I think this is the original lock, and again, Randy took it to a locksmith and everything, and it's very sticky. I tried putting WD-40 in it. I tried putting, I think, PB degreaser or some kind of super hardcore penetrant. This lock is just jammed shut, so consequently I can't lock the trailer if I go out on an errand somewhere. I just have to trust in the good faith of people and the fact that all these people camping around me are people I know, and so they'll keep an eye on it for me. Fortunately, I can lock it from the inside. So when I go to bed, I can lock it from the inside so that I'm safe when I go to sleep. I just can't lock it from the outside or I'll get locked out of the dang trailer, which actually happened to me right here last year, and it was part of what made me go, okay, I am getting rid of this thing. I'm getting a new trailer. That's the last straw. The lock's broken. I'm out. Now you might be wondering, okay, if I got locked out of the trailer, how did I get back in? Through this utility hatch, okay? This is just a little hatch that you keep, you know, the wheel chocks and the leveling jacks and stuff in. I mean, I have my wheel that broke off the front thingy, and I got my hitch lock that I keep on it, my tire covers. You know, it's just a utility hatch. But it does, if you lift, oh gosh, I gotta squeeze in here. If you lift this panel up, it actually goes into the interior of the trailer. I have a bunch of heavy stuff sitting on it right now, but I guess back when I got locked out, there wasn't anything too heavy on it. And thanks to the fact that I'm relatively petite, I was able to climb through the utility hatch, through that panel, and get in and open the door that way. Which, as you can imagine, was really something to see. Now, speaking of the utility hatch, there's actually an issue. When I got here this year, this lock just completely disintegrated and fell apart. Now, one of my friends that's staying at the hot spring fixed it for me, and it looks like it's actually working okay now. But I'm not quite sure about it, and so that's probably, if I'm gonna be replacing the front door lock, then I might as well replace this too. Well, now let's go inside and see what kind of changes I would have to make to the interior. Okay, here is what's going on inside the trailer, and the audio should be a lot more quiet now that we're inside. Okay, I'm in wide angle mode, so you can kind of get an idea of the layout here. Like I said, it's about 13 feet, so small, but big enough for a little kitchen. This dinette over here does make into a second bed. If I had my sister sleeping in here, I had an overnight guest. And then, of course, I've got my bed over here on this side, which doubles as a sort of sofa. It's kind of like a day bed. And then on this side, we have, that's where the utility hatch comes in. So this is what I climbed through when I came in here that time. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of heavy stuff sitting up here, so I was able to just push this up and crawl up through and get in here and unlock the door. There's a closet here, kind of like a clothes closet, and I have a mirror hanging on it, which unfortunately broke the second I got to Burning Man. I was in here fixing up the bed, and I forgot that I had put the mirror under this mattress to protect it while I was traveling. So I dragged it all the way up from Death Valley to the Black Rock Desert without breaking it, and then I kneeled on it and cracked it, and well, I had to repair it with some Scotch tape. But it still works fine, and it's better than having no mirror at all. And in fact, the mirror on this side, the one over my sink, it's the same story. This is a broken fragment of a previous year's mirror. Golly, now that I think about it, I'm rolling around with an awful lot of broken mirrors in this trailer. Maybe that's why I have so much bad luck with it. Anyway, this closet is used for storing my clothes. Also kind of a utility closet. I have a broom in there. I have a can of flame retardant in here. And then I also have my little chemical camp toilet. Because, again, this trailer doesn't have anything in it other than, well, I always say it's a 1,700-pound bed on wheels, because that's essentially what it is. There's no toilet in here. This little camp toilet's pretty much just good for if you have to pee in the middle of the night and you don't want to have to get out and, you know, go out into the cold. So, it is nice to have, and I guess keeping it in the closet is kind of weird, but you tell me, where else would I keep it? Okay, like I said earlier, there's not really a sink, or not a plumbed sink anyway. There's a basin, and this runs down through a pipe into that catch basin that I have outside. But there's no faucet, there's no running water, so I just get I got this big Dometic 2.5-gallon jug, and I just fill that with water, and it's got a little tap on it, so I can kind of use that as running water. And it works okay. It's just, you know, sometimes it would be really nice to have a tap I could just turn on that had hot and cold running water. Wouldn't that be a luxury? You know, instead, I have to heat my water the old-fashioned way, and no, I don't mean on the stove. I actually have the range covered up because it doesn't work. So I just use a camp stove. I boil water that way. And then there's a fridge here. This is, or ice box. This is, I guess, just an old-fashioned ice box. I think the way it's built, you're supposed to just put a block of ice on that top shelf. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's just, or maybe you're supposed to put the block of ice down here, like up on this little shelf. Anyway, it's a real cute little ice box, and Randy even went through the trouble of painting it pink. Randy did this whole interior. Remember, he rebuilt all of this. I mean, the cabinets were original, but he had to go in, and I don't know if you can see, he even painted pink stripes on all the hardware. And then, you know, he had to fix the interior paneling was messed up, so he got some plywood and did that. And then he did the walls in this very complex checkerboard pattern of wood. And he painted the ceiling with Venetian plaster, kind of a funky turquoise and yellowish color. And then he even did the upholstery himself. Randy also does upholstery, believe it or not. So I thought that came out pretty good. You can see there's some kind of leak in the roof line here, and it's actually worse over here on this side. There's some pretty significant water damage here, and hopefully there's no mold. I sprayed it with bleach after I got back from Burning Man, and it doesn't smell funky or anything, but that being said, I have had a cough for like 2 weeks now, so who knows? And I don't know where the leak is. I'll show you outside here. I'll try to reach up onto the roof. Well, you can't see because I have my solar panels laying up here, but I don't know. This whole seam looks totally watertight to me, so I have no idea where the leak is coming in. But wherever it's coming in, it's one more thing that definitely needs to be addressed. So add that into the budget column. What do we have? Fridge, sink, toilet, leaky roof. Oh gosh, I already lost count. Which is just as well, because I forgot to mention the fact that there's no lighting in this trailer, okay? I mean, there's a roof vent, so during the day, yeah, light comes in, or air and light comes in up here, and of course, you know, light comes in the windows. But at night, it's pretty dang dark in here. This is just a decorative chandelier. There aren't any light fixtures because there's no electricity. So I kind of got around that by just stringing LED fairy lights all the way around the interior. You can't really see them because it's such a thin strand, but I started it out way up here in that corner, and then I strung them all the way around the bed, all the way around through the kitchen, all the way around through the dining room, and then I just plug them in to this battery bank. It's very cozy. It's just not bright enough to you know, perform surgery or even cook dinner. Anyway, while we're on the subject of electricity, you can see I'm using the Jackery Explorer 1000, which one of my friends said was rated the best power bank of any power bank by, oh gosh, I feel like she said Wirecutter magazine. I don't know, some techie magazine that reviews stuff said this is the best power bank of any power bank, and I found it to be very effective. I have it connected, the lines running along here, alongside the door, going up outside onto the roof. Again, we're gonna go look at the roof again. You can maybe see, I don't know if you can see up there, but I have a 200 watt Jackery solar panel and my Starlink. And this 200 watt panel has really been able to keep up. I mean, all it's really powering is the Starlink, and then I charge my little camp light, my headlamp, my cell phone, little things like that. That being said, I think it would be cool if I had an actual house battery that was hardwired to some solar panels that were permanently attached to the roof, and then that all connected to some kind of interior lighting. And I don't know, I guess lights is the only thing I would really want to power. I mean, I suppose I could get real fancy and put a propane heater and air conditioner on my wish list, because gosh, sometimes at Burning Man, it's really hot, and you know, it gets real dusty. You want to go take a nap in your trailer in the middle of the day, and this is like an oven, okay? I mean, it's silver on the outside, but it doesn't seem to reflect much light. I don't think there's any insulation in it, so it's real cold at night, real hot during the day. In fact, it's even hot in here right now, and it's, you know, late September at 7,000 feet in the mountains. Imagine how hot it gets on the Burning Man playa when it's like 95 degrees outside. Woo-wee! Oh, I feel like I'm getting pretty bougie with my list of demands. I mean, you can see I already have on here that I want lights and electricity, because, you know, it would also be nice to have just a couple outlets that I could plug things into to charge them instead of having to lug a Jackery around. So I want to put in solar panels and a house battery so that I can have lights and electrical outlets. I need to repair the stove or replace the stove. I need to get a refrigerator. I need to get a sink that actually works, which means also I guess I need a gray water tank and a fresh water tank. I need a toilet. I need to fix the leaky roof, the door locks, the door glass, put in some kind of air conditioner and heater. I just feel like by the time I do all of that, I might as well just buy a dang, you know, lightly used Scamp or Casita or, you know, J Feather, any one of those trailers, you know? I just did some research, and yes, brand new, a Scamp or a Casita, or God forbid, one of those little miniature Airstreams. I mean, that's a minimum of 22, 25 grand, brand new. Now, if I could find one that was used, even like 20 years old, I could probably get it for half that. So let's just say maybe 10 grand. So I could spend 10 grand on a new to me trailer, or I could do all these repairs. And it seems to me I could do all these repairs for less than 10 grand. And also, I'm being mindful of the fact that I'm going to compromise some storage space by getting a house battery. You know, like this whole side here is all storage, but I don't need that much storage. I could definitely use one of these for like my electrical center and have the battery and stuff in there. Gray water and fresh water for the sink. That would be tough because, well, right now I'm using the under sink storage for my dishes, my trash. I mean, that's the wheel well. But I suppose I could probably fit a freshwater tank in there. I don't know where I would put... Well, the gray water tank, I suppose, could go over here. Like, next to my bed, there's another little hatch that's just storage. And then, you know, there's more storage under the bed. Like, that all lifts up. So, you could probably fit... Well, you might even be able to fit the gray and the fresh water over there, and I could still keep my stuff under the sink. I mean, it would take up a lot of space, but I do have a pretty decent amount of storage in here. You know, I got 3 cubby holes up here over my bed, which right now are just being used to store, you know, wigs and Burning Man stuff. Unfortunately, this one here is stuck shut, and no matter what I do, I can't get it to open. So that's another thing I guess I have to add to my repair list. Although this I wouldn't think would cost much. It's just somehow jammed shut. And then there's 2 more cabinets above the kitchen, which is plenty of room to use for, well, I use this side for food and that side for toiletries. So I feel like I got plenty of room for that kind of stuff. And there's even more storage up here on this side, which again is just being used for Burning Man stuff. hats, and I wouldn't normally be rolling around with all that. Oh, don't look in there. That's where I keep all my electric vaginas. How embarrassing. Anyway, I don't think storage space would be an issue for all of the improvements. The toilet, if I was going to put an actual flush toilet in here, I guess I would have to turn this closet into an actual bathroom. Or I could get a composting toilet, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like I don't really want to lose the closet space. So I like having someplace to hang my clothes, especially since the only reason I ever take this trailer anywhere is to go to Burning Man. Well, I kind of need a place to keep all my weird costumes, right? So the toilet thing is probably the most problematic of all the repairs that I would have to make in order to get this trailer up to speed. So anyway, is this vintage travel trailer worth rehabbing? And if so, how much money is it worth putting into? $3,000? $5,000? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What's the name of that show on HGTV? Should I love it or list it? Should I keep it and rehab it? Or should I just get something newer?